This conference will now be recorded.
Thank you for volunteering to be part of CRB's project of continuous quality assurance. For this project, a CRB staff person is paired with a volunteer board member to observe a day of CRB reviews, typically in a county other than their own. This short webinar will show you how to complete the data collection instruments you'll be filling out as you observe. The first instrument you'll complete with your partner is called the CRB Review Day instrument. This has basic questions about the conference room where reviews are held. You'll only complete one of these for the entire review day, and answers should reflect the consensus of both observers. Questions 1, 2, and 3, which ask for the county, board number, and review date, will have already been filled in for you. Questions 9 and 10 are also a bit special because they ask for the board's opinion on whether the case plans for all the cases appeared to be complete and up to date, and whether the board felt critical documents were missing from the case material for any of the cases. The instructions direct you to ask the board questions 9 and 10 during morning board business time. The second instrument you'll complete is called the CRB Review Observation Instrument. You and your partner will complete one of these for each CRB review you observe that day. The first page asks for information about the county, board number, review date, and children being reviewed. This page will have already been filled in for you. The next two pages have questions on both the front and the back of the pages. During the CRB review, you will complete one of the pages and your partner will complete the other. This page is to be completed by Observer 1. So at the top of the page, the children's last names will have already been filled in for you. Question 1A directs you to complete the attendee participation table on the back side of the page. And here's that table. So this table is designed to track who is present for the review and which parties speak during each finding. The very top row indicates which findings are applicable, will have already been filled in for you, along with the first column indicating which parties apply. So as the parties introduce themselves at the start of the review, in the second column here, go ahead and mark which ones are present. You'll notice that some of the party fields, such as this one, ask for additional details. So here it asks for the DHS caseworker, the supervisor, or the substitute caseworker. And here, if there is a substitute for the child's attorney. Is that substitute another attorney, or is it a legal assistant? And then right here, if there is a substitute for the CASA, is that is it a staff person? And then finally, for the foster parent, check the box if it is a relative. So go ahead for these additional details in the party field. Go ahead and check all that apply. So as the board goes through each finding, you will mark the parties that speak during that particular finding. So typically, this will be fairly straightforward. However, unpredictable things can happen during a CRB review. For example, a board may jump back to previous findings, or maybe even discuss two findings at the same time. If this happens, don't panic. Just continue to fill out the table as best you can. After the board has made all of the findings, flip back to the front of the page and answer the questions regarding the recommendations and the closing, and then the review overall. The next page is to be completed by Observer 2. And once again, the children's last names will be completed for you. The first 4 questions you will answer relate to the board's introduction of the case. As the board begins to make the findings, question 2A directs you to complete the depth of inquiry table on the back of the page. This table asks you to rate the depth of discussion for the identified issues. The 3 ratings are not at all discussed, mentioned by the board, and then a question by the board to one of the parties, and then the party answering that question. The first column will have already been filled in for you, so you'll know which issues apply in the case. While the issues are divided under specific findings, feel free to rate the issue if it is brought up anytime during the review. For example, a question about visitation could come up under finding 4. But if it happens a question about visitation could come up in finding 4. So it's perfectly acceptable to circle the C for question and answer for family contact under finding 3 when that happens. You'll also notice that some of the issues have multiple parts in parentheses. So here's an example of that. So placements can include type, appropriateness, and stability. You don't need to wait for the board to address each of these subtypes under placements. As long as the board discusses one of them, you can give the appropriate rating for placements. There is one issue in the table that breaks all the rules I just told you, and that is the face-to-face contacts under progress and compliance. So while it's possible that face-to-face contacts could have come up under finding 3 as the board is discussing safety of the child, the face-to-face contacts under progress and compliance, right down here, should be rated solely on the discussion about it as the board is making finding 8. If you have any questions about this, feel free to ask the CRB staff person you've been partnered with. They should be able to give you some clarification. At the end of the review, turn back to the front of the page and answer the questions related to the review overall. And that completes the CRB review observation instrument. You and your partner observer can decide who you want to be observer number 1 and observer number 2. You also can decide to remain in those positions for every review or switch at some point for variety. For example, you may want to switch assignments after lunch. As your observation date approaches, I'll be in communication with you about the review day schedule and any necessary travel arrangements. You do not need to bring anything with you to the day of the reviews. All of the observation instruments will be there for you. CRB plans to conduct similar observations of 16 boards every year. So if you enjoy this experience, please don't hesitate to volunteer in future years. Thank you again for your participation in this project. If you have any questions about anything in this training, please don't hesitate to contact me, Christina Jagganoff, at 503-986-5941. Thank you.